How'd you know Arthur Kanoy?
I met him the same way. I met him basically the same way.
Well, I'm thinking whether, because wasn't he a lawyer?
Yeah, Stanley.
Well,
he was Dr. King's lawyer.
Well, that Stanley was Dr. King.
Yes, Stanley was Dr. King's lawyer.
But I was thinking, because remember the party gave you a lawyer and I was wondering if Kanoy...
No, the party gave me a lawyer for my,
yeah.
but it was the same lawyer Paul Robeson had. It was not the same lawyer. I forget his name now, but he has a famous name because it's like some other, it's a common name, you know what I mean?
Oh.
But anyway, I got that lawyer, yeah, but I hadn't met Stanley at that time.
No, I was saying, but Kanoy.
Arthur Kanoy, yeah. So Arthur Kanoy and Stanley and Clarence Jones, I met all of them about the same time, like around 59, 60, this would be 60. But I had decided to leave the party because, not that I had any disagreement with them, but the point is there was work to be done, and I had enough experience to do work around the country and in New York. On the basis of the credentials that I had accumulated in these other activities. I mean, I was the coordinator. Bayard Rustin, was the overall whitter, but I was the coordinator of the circulation of the petitions. So, as a case in point. And then Jesse Gray came back, and he was settled in the Harlem Tenants Council. And between those two things, my position was that we need a communist party in the United States to preach the idea of socialism, but that was not where people are right now. And if you're going to do anything right now, you got to have another credential or another avenue. I hadn't had any party contact, as I said, in Birmingham, so that was a year and a half, because they had to change their name to there just wasn't any basis for name Communist Party thing. And my point was that you have to find the ways and means to work constructively, to be helpful. And if you can be helpful, that's what matters. It doesn't, if there's somebody going to call you one thing or another, you move out from under that so people can get the help, and you can get known to be helpful in these other areas.
Was Jim Jackson disappointed when you left the party?
No, he never expressed any disappointment in that, because he understood what I was talking about. I mean, they operated under the Southern Negro Youth Congress. They wouldn't run around the South talking about they were communists. They were in the Southern Negro Youth Congress, but they also happened to be communists. But I told Jim, that I was leaving because we were in a situation at that point where you really had to declare your forfeiture of the communists, because otherwise people say, well, it'd be nice, but it's putting us at a risk. And the NAACP, jealous of Dr. King's movement, they had a real attitude toward cleaning out communists. They cleaned out communists in New York, simply because they wanted to be that pure thing that really represented the movement. And that was then, that was one of those kind of situations where there was internal stress over whether we're going to be a direct action movement or going to court. And the court people, headed by the NAACP, was ready to discredit the direct action because they wanted to call the shots in the civil rights movement. And so that was a new tension that was present in the movement. While they were both working to get rid of segregation, the NAACP's position is raise money for the NAACP and we will sue. The Southern Christian Leadership's point is that we need mass action to get rid of segregation. And I sided with the mass action thing.
don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to make sure I understand. So you felt, for tactical reasons, it was your ability, being a member of the Communist Party limited your ability to be a successful participant in direct action.
Yes, and I felt that anybody was that, because I'm not going to lie to people and tell them that this, that, and so I left the Communist Party so that I would not be in the Communist Party. So if the question came up, are you in the Communist Party? No. That don't mean I don't know something about communism. Every literate person ought to know something about communism. But no, I'm not in the party.
But you didn't become an anti-communist, you didn't?
No, you better believe I didn't become an anti-communist. And the communists led the fight against segregation in the labor movement, and I would become anti-communist? I'm not crazy. But the point is, the reality had been created for us that the NAACP was so jealous of Martin that if I stayed communist and got a job with him, they'd have used that against him. They weren't beyond that. There was that, turf and, this sort of thing. Anyway, so I left the party, and when I say left, I mean left. I don't mean a direction. I mean, but now, if anybody asks me, was I in the Communist Party? If they want to join the Communist Party, I'll tell them where they can go. That's... But
and you remain friendly with all the same people.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And Jim Jackson and Ed Strong and Louis Burnham, those are mentors of mine. As far as I'm concerned, those guys put me on the right track. And next to my father and grandfather, they gave me an understanding of the world that I would not have had. I don't know where else I would have got it. And so I went to work as a protege of theirs, if you will, in my own understanding, but not as an agent of the Communist Party, because the Communist Party had enough on its mind. If they could do what they set out to do and establish socialism, that's great. I'm going to get in this movement that was going to deal with segregation, and I believe that it was going to succeed because it had a nonviolent, direct action outlook, but it also had the lessons of the labor movement and other things to go with it to help to guarantee its success. Now, let me add this, that if the CIO had carried forward the organized and unorganized in the South, I would have joined that because I was already in that, in Miami. Because there were other organs, but they didn't. They dropped it. And then you had this fissure in the labor movement, and these hustlers forming the AFL-CIO, with the communists kicked out 1 million members, or unions with 1 million members at their convention in 1949. So I said, well, I hope that explains.
Yes, and didn't Bayard Rustin do the same thing?
I don't know that he was ever in the party. I mean, I don't know that he was in the Socialist Party, and he had a young socialist group that he kept contact with, and he was their mentor. In fact, 2 of them went with me to organize the march on the Republican Convention in 1960, because we were going to have round-the-clock civil rights march at both conventions. And here Clarence Jones went to California for the Democratic one, and this Young Socialist League and me went to and I went to Chicago to organize the convention there, or organize the protests at the convention, the Democratic convention there. Yeah.